Everybody looks like they're fine. Everybody's at one hunger. And this is the next night after your little adventure at the nightclub, at the underground nightclub. And the Elysium itself, when you guys wake up and start moving around and interacting, I don't know, after you've had your first cup of coffee, you'll notice that the Elysium itself seems a little bit more serious than usual. Like everybody's been on edge, for sure. Like they seem like they've been on high alert. They don't know if they're going to get attacked by the entity. They don't know if they're going to be attacked by anarchs. But today seems a little bit more that the Kindred in Elysium are a little bit more unwilling to voice complaints. So yeah, they just seem a lot. They seem a lot more withdrawn, and in their own little cliques. Like most of the Toreador are hanging out in the Hall of Iniquities. Most of the Bruja are hanging out in the little Bruja area. The Nosferatu are hanging out in the Nosferatu area. They've separated in their own little clan spaces.
What's your take on this, Henry, Emil? Like, you think they had a Primogen meeting or something today? Right?
Well, if they are, I haven't heard anything about it.
This kind of feels like when the boss gets a divorce and then comes back on Monday, you know?
Let's see. Well, you'll forgive me if I'm not at. You'll have to forgive me if I'm not at my usual speed of wit. A lot on my mind.
Well, here, let me run this past you and Benny, because I think I'm missing something, but I don't know what the something would be. We find out what the tunnels are, and we just like pass some information off, and then you go take it up to whoever you need to and say, hey, we found a way out. We let people know they're starting to evacuate. Wouldn't that like put them in a position of like if they had to stop the evacuation, because they want to, I don't know, die on this hill? Aren't we getting people out? We can get out. Like we get out and Benny's free, right? Benny's free to go. Like once we're out.
Once our orders are complete here in Prague, yes. I'll dismiss any of you who wish to leave.
And then Benny doesn't have to like look over his shoulder the rest of his life or anything, right?
I believe Benjamin's going to do that regardless, but not for me.
Okay.
I'm going to have to look over my shoulders for the rest of my life for a lot of reasons.
Well, I can teach you to hide.
It's already within me to do. It's just not the task that I'm putting myself on.
Okay.
Well, I would meant to finish updating the rest of you last night, but we were interrupted. I was going to fill you in on everything that I have acquired since I've been here in Prague, and we've been working together. I have already got a detailed layout of the tunnels and a means of navigating them. I know the locations in which we can exit the red gas without ever coming into contact with it. And I know ways that Kindred could evacuate and we could just evacuate them all, or make the information public among the court and let that information people do with that information as they will.
Is it going to be an instance where if we give it to the court that they're just going to take it and sit on it, and let everybody die screaming in red gas?
When I mean bring it before the court, I mean all of the Camarilla kindred in the city, all the members of the Elysian, not just the Primogen members.
So how much time do we have until we get nuked?
I have no idea. Storyteller, remind me. Do I vaguely want to say I remember there was money being I tracked some money being sent from the Vatican
Yes.
to where the Prince's Haven is, right?
To where the Prince's Haven is?
Yeah, is that not correct? Where they were I feel like there was something pertaining to the entity. Yeah, at the Prince's Haven.
There are entity outside of where Marcus was havening.
Yeah.
But I think you might be mixing the two together.
Okay.
The money that was being tracked was being sent to an airfield outside Munich.
Okay.
And that is also the same airfield that Ekaterina showed you the satellite photos of.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not foolish enough to storm into an entity airbase and try to find out or put a stop to what they're doing, so I'm conflicted.
That seems to be the nature of us all.
Katarina's stance on doing it for the sake of kindred kind doesn't really fit the profile I've made on her. So I'm trying to figure out if it's perhaps my information on her was faulty, or if he's just trying to play us by evacuating, by the Camarilla evacuating. Then it just leaves her and her pack to do whatever they want. And quite frankly, wage war against the SI openly. No masquerade to be concerned about. And a sleeping ancient they can do with as they please.
Having seen actual Sabbat attacks, this doesn't seem like one. The fact that anybody walked out of that club alive, I find that interesting. She didn't have to do that. She was in the superior position the entire time. We could have been dead. Every human in there could have been dead. But she chose not to do that.
Again, does she really care, or is it all just a part of a larger plan? Why waste energy killing us when she's not certain that everyone in her pack would survive it or come out at least unscathed for the fight to come? Why not just get us to remove all of her fighting up until it matters for her without her having to lift a finger?
She seemed sincere.
There's something... I want to clarify something to you. And that, speaking from not only experience, personal experience, but also from the words of the two wisest instructors and teachers that I've ever had, that's the point. It seemed sincere. She might be a Bruja and she might be really old, but I guarantee you she hasn't forgotten how to play a game of slight and subtle manipulation. If anything, those things only give her more experience to perfect the art. It's not hard to fake sincerity.
You'd be
Maybe
amazed.
my adopted sire, I've seen her play entire rooms of Kindred. Played them like a harp, plucking the strings, each and every one of their heartstrings, convincing them to do what she wanted without seeming like that's what she was trying to do.
I think we can be sure that she's probably arranged some sort of meeting with the Anarch leadership.
Say that again?
I think we can be sure that she would have gone and talked to the leader of the Anarchs as well. If she's saying we have to have all Kindred out of the city so the SI goes away, not just the CAM.
There's nothing to say that she hasn't. If any position, that's exactly what I would do. I would make a plea with both sides of my opposition that they consider what's best for their interests, what's best for them, to continue existing. Let them do all of the work that I would need them to do for me. And then I would go to my other opposition, and then if I had more, I would go to them as well. And in fact, if I was in a situation like this, if I was in her situation, I would convince my opposition to do what was best for them and then sell them out all at once.
Is there a Anarch presence strong enough for that to actually matter?
I don't know, but the idea of sending all of Prague's Camarilla and Anarch populations down into tight corners with one way in and one way out seems like a really good kill zone for the Inquisition to get a tip. I'm not saying that's what she's doing, but that's exactly what I would do if I were in her situation. I would send all of my opposition into a tightly confined space to flee together, and then turn on them and put the enemy of my enemy into a position that would kill all of them, and claim whatever benefits and spoils of war were left.
The problem with that thought is she knows that the tunnels are filled with Archons, so...
Yeah, again, she doesn't care that she believes that her pack could handle the Archons without any death, but was also upset with me for them being in there and wondering why they were in there. And she also mentioned that she wasn't, forget which one of you asked her if she was also stuck here, and she said, well, I am now, thanks to Henry. So, too many of her things just didn't add up.
And although, I understand the bottleneck plan, if she's saying you want the SI to not find anything so they'll move away, giving them loads of vampires to kill would not deter them from going away. It might escalate.
Not if they think they got all of them killed in one location from a contact, or maybe who's to say she's not working with them? There's too many questions and not enough time to find the answers. And perhaps I'm being paranoid. I don't think I am, but perhaps I am.
Someone who's paranoid believes that they're being paranoid.
Well, I've just seen too many examples
This doesn't feel like a Sabbat siege.
That's because the Sabbat's not here in the numbers that it used to be to operate on such levels. And an elder Sabbat don't operate like the younger Sabbat. Their sieges are... Don't let them fool you. Their sieges are as subtle as Camarilla sieges are. Or were at one time. Whatever remains of the Sabbat now is nothing like what it used to be. So most Sabbat sieges are small and guerrilla-like. I don't trust her. I wouldn't trust her further than I could throw her. In fact, I wouldn't trust her as far as she could probably throw me. So,
Well, I don't know a lot about this, but he said that the sleeping elder was, used a word for it, a type of Nosferatu. I mean, should we tell the Nosferatu about that?
she mentioned something about them being Niktuku.
I don't know what that is, but
I don't know.
it seems like if you have a special word in a clan.
This is where denial of one's history is a disadvantage.
I don't know. Storyteller, what are the odds that Henry's heard the word Niktuku before? I don't imagine they're very high, but
Let's see. Intelligence. I mean, I would go ahead and say intelligence plus politics, and you can go ahead and use your specialty on bureaucracy due to the inner workings and the back and forth within the Camarilla when it comes to hiding things like this.
okay. 3 successes.
3 successes. Given who your given to who you tend to speak to on occasion, there is a list of there's a list of 11 kindred on as part of the red list, who are kind of set to the side. You're basically just told to keep an ear out for the names of these kindred. And you've heard whispers of them being suspected of being Niktuku. You're not really sure what Niktuku means, but you do know that the 11 kindred are all said to be Nosferatu. And you've heard the word Niktuku attached to them.
Okay.
If you want, I can give you those names.
Yeah, if you would just want to DM them to me.
Sure.
I know that there's some association with the name Niktuku to certain kindred, but most of them are they're all on the red list, a subsection of the red list, I guess you could call it. But I still don't know what Niktuku means. Maybe it's... Well, we could take this information, or take this question to Omnis.
Ooh.
Or we could make a phone call.
Ooh.
I'll take it to Omnis.
Let's not.
Sorry. Every time Mr. Prophet's like, I'll take it to Omnis, I just like, Jesus.
It was the last session, or 2 sessions ago. This NPC hates you.
Yeah.
Will I be burned at the stake for being a heretic if I share a little bit of information?
No, I think now would be the most pressing time to share any information that you might have.
Considering our Chronicle tenants, you might want to consider that and whether or not you're going to end up taking a stain if you don't.
When it comes to the history of kindred and antediluvians that I'm not supposed to know about, because they don't exist, air quotes. This would be the children of the Nosferatu and Antediluvian.
Well, that would line up with what Catherine said. Said Echidna was a child of the Antediluvian.
Problem with not knowing about the problem with not acknowledging that the Antediluvians exist is that we don't know the threats they generate. I didn't grow up inside the Ivory Tower. My training was very much different from both Emil's and more than likely Mr. Prophet's. Although Prophet's life seems to have been very interesting.
Well, as someone who has been Camarilla from Embrace onward, even though they don't teach the stories in the Camarilla, one could assume that if I was embraced a lowly fledgling, and the elders of the domain in which I was embraced are the ones in charge, and then through my time I learned that there are even elder kindred above them who are really in charge, and beyond them even more who are really in charge. I think it's safe to say that it's safe to assume that there are likely ancient kindred from well beyond, older than anyone could even begin to fathom, with incredible power. I just don't particularly believe that they're the direct grandchildren of Cain. For all we know, they could be the first of all of the clans. Or, I guess in the stories of Cain, that's kind of the case. They are the first of all the clans. So, I mean, kindred kind had to come from somewhere. I just don't know that I don't pretend to assume that it was Cain is where we originated from.
I mean, do we think the sleeping elder is like a Sabbat asset?
Well, considering how the Sabbat like to partake in wanton diablerie, I'm sure in some version of that, from some perspective, yes, it is an asset. Whether they blood bond it, wake it up, or diablerize it, kill it. And that's to assume that it's even really here. Again, our only evidence to support this is Catherine. So take that for what you will.
Would you like to go Methuselah hunting? That does not sound like a good idea.
No, it sounds like a terrible idea.
Are we all old enough to remember the Week of Nightmares?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well,
and if we're looking to stop another one of those.
Emil, would it help?
No, certainly not.
Yeah, Emil, would it help if, like, you, like, just pitched it to us what you would go say to everyone in the Elysium? Like, so that way we know what we're supposed to know and what we're not supposed to know?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'm saying if you go out and tell people in the Elysium about, hey, there's an escape tunnel, and say the, I don't know, the prince or the primogen pulled us in and wanted to question us on what we know, what are Benny and I supposed to know and not know?
Well, you know, my name is Emil. You know, I'm from New York. You know, I haven't really done a whole lot of anything since I've been here, other than flaunt around and socialize, and occasionally stir the shit when I can. And you know that I was with you when we discovered the tunnels. That's all you know.
This is a weird question, but if you think that the tunnel is like a pillbox trap, would it make sense to maybe select who you reveal the escape route to first, and then have them go and maintain contact with you or something? So if they make it out, then we know it might be good. I'm saying like guinea pig, canary, mine and the canary. Canary in the mine. Is that how it goes?
Canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
Is there any way to reach out to the anarchs and have them flush the mine for us?
No, thanks to Natalie, I don't have a particularly well reputation among the anarchs. And with the blood hunt still being called on their heads, those of them that are not dead are likely either laying low or very quick to pull the trigger.
Can we speak about amnesty for those exiting the city? An armistice just for if you are in those tunnels and headed out of the city, you will not be harmed. If you're found above ground, you're still free game.
I mean, that's a reasonable decision. I don't think that a blood hunt on the anarchs was necessary to begin with, but I don't have the power to make that decision.
So we need to find who does.
Well, considering M is our current prince, he puts air quotes around prince, illegitimate or otherwise, she currently claims the position, so
And who put her in that position?
she did. Did I not tell you? Her letter from Lucinde stating that she was the rightful heir to Prague?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was. That's not true. That's very fake. She forged it. I asked.
I knew we should have authenticated it first.
Gritted teeth.
That's why I was so confident to show it to Maya when I did. I still didn't expect her to run off, but thought it was fun either way. I knew it wasn't real. Had it been real, I would have been notified ahead of time.
Why do we let her sit on a throne that isn't hers?
Well, I very well have the information and the means of uprooting her, but for the moment, letting her play her little game of masquerade has brought some form of stability back to the courtroom. Kirill's not marching down every street and alley slaughtering anarchs. His attention and frustrations have been guided into a direction.
And it's kind of smart because if things go wrong, she's to blame.
Precisely. If she can't keep the court together, then it's her head, not mine.
You know what this sounds like to me?
Or
This is leverage for us to get our people out of this city before we all die.
you really think that Catherine's telling the truth?
Right now, we're rats in a bucket. And that bucket's getting smaller and smaller. The only people that benefit from us being in this bucket are the entity.
See, when I originally found myself here in this situation, my initial goals were locate the fate of Prince Marcus and find a way out of the city. I have succeeded in presumably both of those things. The first one, not so much with exact confirmation, but the second one being the most important. I have secured us an exit out and secured us a way for reinforcements to come in.
But if we call in reinforcements, we could be calling them to their death.
Again, that's not my decision.
No city is a fortress forever. Look at Vienna. Look at London. Look at Chicago.
I have to admit, I don't know why. My original goal was to find a way for Kindred to get out of the city until this was over, but now that that's what Catherine is begging us to do, I don't know if it's the right idea. So the best part about not being a lone working member of my position and having a coterie who's in on it is I don't have to make all the decisions myself. I can actually call on your counsel. So I will listen to your counsel because even though I think that we should not play into Catherine's hands, I'm also not trying to lead my coterie to death. So I'll hear what you guys think. If you really think that we should just be leveraging a way for us to get out, I'll call on that leverage.
Well, if we were playing Risk, what I'd do is I'd move troops out, but not permanently. I'd move troops out to get behind my adversary eventually, and then bring them back in. I mean, if we leave the city, it doesn't mean we're just saying screw Prague. We leave. We leave to an area where there's a low SI presence, or now we might have an advantage of pushing in on an area that's not a kill box with red gas, unless they figured out how to just erect those quickly.
Can you see the gas?
Yeah.
And you can see it for what it is.
It's red gas.
Yeah, red gas.
It's a red mist.
But can you see the forms flowing through it? Can you hear the things wailing inside? It's not just a gas.
Well, I don't know about any of that.
Nor do I.
But it's like, it's like a aerosol napalm.
We have to be outside of this city to neutralize the entity that is bringing the gas. So it serves two purposes for us to evacuate the city. First of all, our forces are outside of an area where they are contained. Scorpion in a circle of gasoline. I forget. You guys aren't from Texas. Do you know the trick with scorpions and a ring of gasoline?
No.
If you put a scorpion inside of a ring of gasoline, eventually it goes mad from the fumes and will sting itself to death. We're getting to the point where we're about to start stinging ourselves to death. We have a way to escape that.
Mr. Prophet, Out of curiosity, do you have any particular unique insights that you could offer us on the situation? Any premonitions? Any?
I mean, I can go
Words
into a
that matter?
trance, like if I need to, and sometimes things come up.
You're welcome to if you like. I was just asking, perhaps maybe there had been some insight through the static, as I've heard it described.
Oh no. Mm-mm. I can try to force myself in there if you think it'd be helpful.
Well, I don't think now would be the worst time. We're trying to figure out what to do. Benjamin seems very dead set on getting everyone out. I'm hesitant to make that call, so what answer would you like to pitch in?
All right. Well, all right, let me sit down here. I gotta think about getting in that mind state. Um, I mean, kind of magic 8-ball myself here, right?
That's what you
But
want to
it-
call it.
Yes, Prophet, we do.
Are you attempting to put yourself into a premonition?
Yes, I am, sir. Rouse, resolve plus aspects, I think. I had to look that up.
And what exactly is your focus on this?
A premonition about if we rally to just evacuate the city.
Okay.
Like thinking like really our coterie and the general people around here. So, let me see.
Okay, so you're talking about doing. You're focusing on the premonition on being like what happens if just your coterie and the Camarilla that you can get to all evacuate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll spend a willpower to re-roll.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. One, two,
One.
3 successes.
Come behind closed doors with me, Mr. Prophet.
Okay.
Okay. So, so when you close your eyes and start thinking about the situation that you're in and what the options that are being presented to you are, and you can just see the Camarilla escaping through the tunnels like little ants that are running from a disturbance of their anthill. And you see yourself, though, standing on the roof of the Elysium, like on the top of Prague Castle. And you just know that everyone is escaping, and you know for a fact that you yourself are also escaping, but your point of view is from the roof of the Elysium, and you just see this rain of blood surrounding the city. And this billowing smoke coming from over the horizon with lightning trapped within it. And as it gets closer and closer and closer, there are these locations in the city, one of them being the Elysium itself. A few of them are spread out in various areas. If you would like to, well, you wouldn't be able to do it here. But anyway, these locations which you can sense something as the cloud is billowing over the city and blocking out the moon. You know that there are things in those locations that seem to be shining like beacons for you that are beginning to wake up. And then everything just gets consumed in darkness and you wake up.
Okay.
Enjoy explaining that.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'm a librarian with a code.
The prophet closes his eyes, and you can see his body responding to, like he's looking in different places. Okay. So it's he opens his eyes. I think it's a mixed bag. We could get everyone out, and it would probably be safe and a good short-term solution. But not to be cliche, the storm coming to Prague, and there's more than one thing sleeping in the city. I guess I should say that. And when the storm gets here, it wakes them up, and that's bad. I mean, I don't know if we can evacuate like everyone but essential personnel, or something like that. But yeah, there are things sleeping in the city that will wake. And I mean, I didn't really get any picture of the SI having anything to do with it.
Well,
We believe what Miss Weiss said. It's the spilling of blood that wakes them.
Yeah, I guess us leaving the anthill causes a rain of blood somehow as the storm arrives.
so if we leave, we wake it up anyways.
Yeah, I don't think us leaving spares the bloodshed.
So, other options.
We could go to the Rudolphinium and talk to Catherine about helping her.
Can we take out the entity forces at the airbase?
The base is in Munich, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just outside of Munich.
Yeah.
Who's up for a trip to Germany?
You want to storm the entity base and stop whatever weapon they're building?
I want the kindred of Prague to protect themselves.
I'm gonna reach in my pocket, pull out my phone, or pull out my pager,
Okay.
and hit the code for "Are you free for a call?"
It'll take a moment or two, but you will get the affirmative message on the pager that says that she's available.
I'll pull out my phone while we're talking
Okay.
and dial the only number that's on that phone.
Mm-hmm.
And put it on speakerphone and just set it down at the table between the three of us.
Rings like twice, and then a very stern woman's voice on the other end. Yes.
There's been an update.
Am I on speakerphone?
You are?
Penny looks confused.
All right. What is this update?
The coterie has accepted their position as auditors.
There's just silence.
In an angry face.
And Catherine Weiss has made contact with us. I'm currently sitting here with Benjamin and Mr. Prophet. Dr. Ford and Paul are elsewhere at the moment.
What did Weiss want?
To convince us to get us, I guess, to convince the Camarilla and the Anarchs to flee Prague. Because the death of all the kindred will wake up what lies beneath the city.
And exactly what does she say lies beneath the city?
He texts it in the pager and sends it.
What are your thoughts?
Well, originally I told you my objective was to find, aside from finding the fate of Prince Marcus, was to also find a way out of the city, and I've done that. But with Catherine Weiss making such a effort out of sending the Camarilla and the Anarchs out of the city, I question whether or not it's actually a good idea. There are currently 3 kindred in this city that are on the list. And 2 of them, well, actually, potentially all 3 of them are much older than I.
You currently do have backup.
That's true.
What do you believe Weiss's intentions are on having the Camarilla and the Anarchs removed?
Well, there are 2 ways I have looked at it. I could see it being one, she's just clearing the board of any opposition for her to fulfill whatever her goals are, being likely the death of this sleeping kindred, and potentially even its diablerie. And seeing as I flooded her tunnels with Archons, she can't do that easily, so she's pivoting to get everyone out now that those tunnels have been discovered.
Do you believe that she has information on where this sleeping elder lays?
Remind me out of character. I don't.
She didn't give any inclination. She didn't give any hints of knowing.
Yeah. It's unclear. She was very careful with her words, as I expected she would be.
Have you brought this up to the local government?
Not yet. Felt like it was a little bit above their pay grade.
Hmm. Removing kindred influence from the city temporarily may be enough to get the SI to leave.
That was her argument.
Do you have any way of finding out more information from Weiss?
Potentially, but she and I aren't exactly fast friends. Considering Natalie's a member of her coterie, she had quite a bit of information on me when we first met. So, in fact,
It may be time for you to face that issue.
Well, I would agree, but the opportunity that presented itself was not one in my favor. I'll deal with Natalie. I know where Weiss is residing.
Do you?
I have an inkling. The Rudolphinium.
Do you have a proposed next step?
My proposed next step would be pull out enough kindred influence in the city to make the hunters think they've got us thinned out. Perhaps if they felt like they were getting further in their effort at a faster pace, they would slow down the progress of whatever this weapon, this bomb they're building is. But if we all flood out of the city at once, I suspect that I mentioned this to my coterie, if I were in Catherine's shoes with the opposition on both political sides and hunters in the mix, with a sleeping ancient beneath my feet, I would send all of my opposition to flee simultaneously and then put them in a kill box for the Inquisition to claim as many kindred lives as they could so that they would go away, leaving me with a fresh new domain. So, I don't think that fleeing en masse is a good idea.
And your coterie?
They disagree.
It may be time to take this to M.
In official capacity or unofficial capacity?
Maintaining your cover is always paramount to your missions.
I just have to clarify. Alright then. Thank you for your time.
Let me know if there's any other advancements.
Understood.
And she will hang up.
put his phone back in his pocket. You know, she always tells me that I have to keep my cover in my missions, and I just keep asking in hopes that I can stop being a mill for a night. Are you too content with taking this to our air quotes prince?
You're the boss.
You're my coterie.
Do we have another choice?
Do we? I don't see one.
All lines, whether we stay or whether we don't, end at the prince's decision.
It's M's domain.
I keep coming back to something here, Emil. The SI has a presence at what was Marcus's haven. Do we know what's going on there?
One of the tunnels leads to the part of the road that's collapsed in front of the haven.
Yes, it does. It is closed off, but there is a way through it. The SI just has not found it yet. So the SI could literally discover those tunnels at any point.
Here's, I don't know, maybe I'm just going back to this, I don't want to say vision thing, but the thing I do. It's hard to tell what the storm is, but the storm seems like it could be the SI. The SI, if I'm guessing, in a military organization, we've already got orders to do a bunch of things in Prague, and they're going to bring their weapon here. When they bring their weapon here, there were three things that stood out, and it was hard to see. Like, when I do that, I can't necessarily like slow down. But three things got struck by lightning, but lightning was just the mechanism of the storm, right? What if we got one of those assets under control and then see if Katarina's story changes, but that's not what we're telling anyone here.
What are the three assets you're referring to?
Well, I don't know. I thought you knew about three. You mentioned something on the phone about three people.
Well, we know of one for sure.
The three individuals I was referencing are Natalie, presuming she's older, on the grounds that she's running around with Katarina, but even if she's not older, she's a wanton Diablerist, so my odds aren't great on a one-on-one with her. The other being with Katarina, and the third being our sleeping ancient.
What about that guy with the weird sword?
She called him Kristoff. My assumption would be that's her child or Kirill's sibling.
We could aim Kirill at the problem.
I've heard worse ideas.
Sire and child fights can get very, very nasty.
If I recall, Kirill didn't know exactly where she was staying, but he did mention something along the lines of wishing he knew where she was, didn't he not? Did he not?
That's... Ooh. That could be very important.
Or be just the loaded and lethal gun we need to walk into that place and come out alive.
Prophet, you said there were 3 things struck by lightning
Mm-hmm.
in the storm.
Yep. Storm arrives. There's a rain of blood. Storm arrives. Lightning comes out, hits these 3 things, assuming people, and then everything goes to black.
Because we know that there's the Ancient in the Coffin here at the Elysium.
Ancient's a strong word. For him, specifically.
Do we know how old that kindred is?
Younger than Kirill by several centuries, to hear Kirill put it.
Several centuries could still be almost half a millennium for Kirill at this point.
Yeah, he's hundreds. Like 2 or 3 centuries, if my memory serves me right. Respectably an elder, but ancient, I would say, far from.
Really older than any of us here,
Yes.
with enough sway to take the position of prince at one point. So that's one sleeping elder. We have the supposed sleeping elder. Of Echidna. He'll say as he looks around, making sure nobody's hearing him.
I assume you're all inside of your little personal
Probably.
area, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't have made that phone call otherwise.
Yeah. But still, it's.
Yeah.
And then if we leave the city and Katerina is caught in the blast, that's 3 elders taken out.
Well, the sleeping one beneath the city is the thing that we're afraid of elders dying, waking up. So, presumably, based off of just the pieces that Mr. Prophet has said, the anthill is the city. The ants leaving the anthill would be us. The storm would be the Inquisition. And the
Red
raining
gas
down,
again.
or the red gas even, yeah. And the lightning would be the Inquisition striking down 3 elders.
That's the funny thing about premonitions. Multiple interpretations.
My assumptions would be that if we took this to the council, my assumptions are that Kirill, Maya, and Omnis would continue to stay, seeing as they've not turned coat yet. Or, assuming, depending on how old the members of Catherine's pack are, there's Catherine, Kristoff, maybe one of the other 3.
It was the Nosferatu. And then Lily. Do we know anything about her? The one we locked in the bathroom.
Lily, yes. No, I know nothing of her. Other than what she told us about being sold by the Camarilla to the Setites.
Most of my own life is figuring out which devil I want to deal with. So I'm going to ask you, Emil, what devil do you want to deal with?
You see, he thinks for a good, probably couple minutes. Let's take this to M. Let's see what happens when M discovers the information. Depending on her reaction, we can pick our next step of our course from there.
Are we going to reveal the devices here?
That is a good question. I don't think we can omit her involvement in this, seeing as she's the one who told us about the kid in the first place.
That's gonna color her view of the idea. Much like yourself. You said it.
Yes, but without any other.
It seems like an unnecessary volunteering of information.
I agree.
She doesn't have to know how we got
let's join the Elysium for the evening, and let's see why everyone's acting to them, just keeping to themselves. Perhaps there's something that's being discussed that we weren't privy to last night.
All right. Well, paint on a smile and let's do this.
All right. So, you guys walk out of your little private area, and the entire center section of the Elysium is sparse to empty. There's barely anything or barely anyone in there except for Couscous and maybe a couple of little stragglers here and there. It's pretty strange over the last few months that you've been here to see it that empty.
Has it been like thinning out as time's gone on, or?
Not really. More and more kindred actually seem to be seeking more refuge in the Elysium because the Anarch attacks have gotten sporadic. They have been attacking Camarilla havens, not just like known locations where the Camarilla actually like hold Elysium and things like that.
Okay. Approach Custos.
He seems agitated more than anything. When you say his name, he acts as if he didn't even realize that you were walking up to him, and he looks up in surprise to look at you. He's like, yes, yes. How can I help you?
Everything all right? Your excellent frame seems to be sitting here in Elysium, but your mind was most certainly elsewhere, it would appear.
The upper echelons of the Camarilla have sent agents to help deal with the situation that we're in. And it's as much as we appreciate the amount of assistance they can give, them being here can always add a little bit of stress.
I see. Is that why everyone seems to be in their own corners for the evening?
I believe everyone is trying to trade information with those they trust. At least trust more.
Well, I would think it was a good thing, but I can understand the stress from an official position.
How are you, fine kindred, doing today?
Wow, I'm just as fine as ever. What you say? He just gives him a cheeky, flirty little wink.
Yeah, he doesn't even really seem to be listening to what you're saying. He seems to be just rifling through papers that have nothing to do with anything. Like he's searching through his important books and papers for wisdom that he knows is not there but hoping will appear.
Dear keeper,
Oh, yes.
what? And I understand if you're not at liberty to say, but I don't think I've ever seen you so uncertain about something. He kind of looks over his shoulder around at the empty room.
Cusco seems to just deflate slightly. His shoulders fall. He stops paying attention to what was attempting to read. He closes the book. This many agents openly working within the Camarilla. I don't see this ending well. To be perfectly frank.
And well, I would have thought the higher ups sending in reinforcements would be a good thing.
If they need that many, there must be other things we don't know.
Well, I guess I hadn't thought of it like that. That is depressing. As if our situation wasn't already sour enough. How many are there? How did they get here?
I don't know
How?
on both of those accounts.
Wow. I mean, I understand the situation's dire, but I would think that reinforcements would be a good thing. Let me rub some elbows and see if I can't figure something out for you.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Benny, Mr. Prophet, I'm gonna go to the Hall of Antiquities. Iniquities. If you want to join, I would say you're welcome, but I can't speak for everyone in that room currently. So, and he just kind of like charts off.
I don't think there's a place for my clan anywhere in here, so I'll just go with him.
I mean, you follow.
There's like a small little area where the Malkavians have just found a place to just hang out. There's not many Malkavians. There's no Malkavian primogeny officially of Prague. Most of the Malkavians that are in the city seem to be foreign. They were, or at least they're not from Prague itself. They were visiting for the convention and just were not able to get out. For some reason, Malkavians just seem to avoid settling here. But if you are heading towards the Hall of Iniquity, it's rather crowded. There is a good amount of kindred here, and the music is not as loud. It's still playing. It's still the obnoxious EDM that Maya seems to enjoy, but it's down low enough so that people can actually hear themselves have conversations.
Benny's going to bop his head to it.
You seem to be the only kindred who is actively acknowledging that there's music on at all.
See if I can narrow down Maya and whatever entourage seems to be conversing with her and invite myself to the conversation.
The social butterfly that she is, you'll actually find her over by the bar. She has actually found a way, using the bar, to keep her a little bit of private space and distance between herself and those who choose to talk to her. So you can find her over by the bar.
He'll seat himself at the bar. Maya, dear, busy night?
Well, you could say that. Lots of rumor mongering.
Ooh. That's my favorite kind of mongering.
Are you sure about that?
Okay, it's my second favorite.
Maya will bite. She smiles. What's your first?
Oh, as if you don't already know. Need I say it?
Ma'am,
I mean, that's
there's
why I
children
asked.
present.
I'll let your imaginations run wild with that one.
Yeah, she'll just laugh. So what can I do for you fine kindred today?
Well, we noticed that we were gone most of last night, but we get back and everyone seems to be in a very different tone tonight. So this painfully uncomfortable feeling that I'm not in the loop on something.
Last night, several Archons showed up to the Elysium.
Really?
Really?
Why do you say that like it's a bad thing?
Several Archons showed up.
I see.
I could understand one, maybe two, but there's a whole fleet.
Which Justicar?
Which Justicar? I have no idea.
Oh, I see.
I would assume that no Justicar has this many to themselves.
So multiple, you believe?
I'm sorry?
Multiple Justicars, Archons are here, you think?
I would assume.
The Camarilla higher echelons felt that the situation's that dire, then. Or is there another reason?
I assume it's the hunters. I could imagine one or two being sent with our little situation with M, but not this many. Although M does have the influence to cause a bit of trouble if need be.
How do you mean?
Can I get a... Give me charisma plus your presence.
Yes, sir.
Just because I need to see if she will catch herself before saying anything she'll regret. Oh, okay, well.
4 successes.
I see that. She's not looking. She's bartending. Like, she's legit bartending. And she goes to hand a drink off to another kindred who just kind of wanders up, and she apparently already knew what they wanted. And as she's handing it over, she goes, well, she was a high-ranking member in the TSA before her embrace. And then she'll just, stop what she's doing. And then just pull herself together and give you a smile and a wink as if she meant to tell you that.
Right. Of course. How could I forgot?
But that's just between us.
Always. Well, multiple archons would explain why Custos is being so... looks so deflated, let's say.
Well, let's just go ahead and say that there are very few Camarilla Gangrel left. So he may see this as a little bit of a threat.
I hadn't even considered that.
Custos and Kirill are a little nervous, to be honest.
I'd say I'd love to be a fly on the wall of Kirill's little space, but we both know I wouldn't.
I've been avoiding him. He's still upset that he doesn't have this room.
At least you have a reason to avoid him other than just, not particularly getting along with his etiquette.
True. So, is there anything that I can get you boys?
I'll have my usual.
I'll grab a flask, shake it, brought my own.
I want to know what the number one monger was.
He just kind of pats you on the shoulder. Just imagine, whatever you can imagine, probably not that.
Prophet? It's best you don't know such things.
All right, she
like you innocent.
she gives Emil a very fancy looking drink that has ridiculous decorations in it. You don't know why. This isn't your usual, but this is what she gives you. It's got an umbrella and a little plastic shark in it, and just a bunch of weird shit.
He'll take it and just smile.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she just hands him the most gaudy looking drink.
Makes
Why
sense.
those with the little plastic swords?
There's 3 plastic swords stabbed into the rubber shark. That's it.
I want those, Emil.
He'll just pluck it out of the drink and give them to you.
Okay, well, when you jostle the shark, a large amount of blood gets, thrown up into the drink.
He'll just kind of slowly drink on that. Hand the little swords and shark to Mr. Prophet. So, everybody rumor mongering. Heard anything?
Most of it's all speculation, why there's so many here, what they're doing. Rumors on if they got in, they must know a way of how to get out. There's a lot of kindred here who would like to go home.
Amen to that.
I can agree with that statement.
Also, apparently there was some to-do last night at the underground bar below the art gallery.
Really? What happened there?
3 people died. Not really sure on the rest. Most of the people just seem to have passed out from something. Not really sure if that might be related to the Archons.
I don't know if there are as many of them as you say there are.
She looks really upset when she talks about the fact that 3 humans died.
My condolences. I
Then he'll slowly turn away from the conversation.
Salad monger, gossip monger, news monger, panic monger, praise monger.
I'm just gonna let him keep going.
Okay.
I'll lean in and whisper into his ear, "It's horse."
Oh,
That kind of too loud whisper that everyone heard me.
Yeah. You say that, and, like, all the Toreador in the area just kind of like stop and turn to you for a second and then go back to their conversations.
Emil just gives them all a wink as they turn and look.
If Benny could blush, he would be.
Well, my condolences. I know that's one of your favorite places in the city. They don't know how they died because
No, but it's awkward because it's not really a known location. So keeping it out of the papers is going to be difficult.
I'm surprised anyone knew about it at all, considering it's so hush-hush. I mean,
Well, I mean, when people die.
Yeah.
Were their deaths an accident?
was it a shooting?
A contact of mine in the coroner's office, they described extreme exsanguination.
So it was COVID related.
It seems that way.
And the contact, of course, isn't putting that in the official report, I hope.
No. And she'll just look down, doing something behind the bar, and she just says, "Damn anarchs."
Okay. You provided me with something interesting about M, so I want to do you return the favor with a little something interesting.
She kind of
You
perks
know-
up and looks at you.
What you know? You mentioned the art gallery, which made me think of this. What do you know about Catherine Weiss?
Let me see. I've heard the name. American, right?
Yeah. He says that, like, he knows he's not really being truthful, but not really sure how to classify her, seeing as she moves around so much, or what her real origins. Presumably. I heard. Well, put it this way, she can't be true American. She's Kirill's sire.
And her eyes are going to get wider. Really?
Mm-hmm. And I heard that she has been out and about Prague since all of this went down.
Okay, you see her putting the puzzle together in her head, and she leans in. She's got her palms flat on the bar, and she kind of like she takes almost like a cat ready to pounce stance, and she just goes, "Catherine Weiss is a Katerina the Wise."
He just kind of winks.
Well, that is juicy.
You're welcome.
You can add an extra dice whenever you have a test with her later on. You've given her something that she likes now.
I think that that might make 2 whenever dealing with M.
Yeah, I think
I think I've already got one of those before.
Yeah, no, I think you've.
No, I have one with Kirill. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
For not backing down when he was trying to scare me.
That's right. So yeah, you have a basically counted as an extra point of Toreador status when dealing with Maya.
Cool. You're welcome.
Yeah, she seems highly amused by all this now. Wait, what does this have to do with the art gallery?
Well,
This
You
is where
gave me
David
one.
starts shuffling uncomfortably in his spot.
you gave me one. I gave you one. I could fill in the blanks for you, but I'm gonna need a favor of you if I do it.
Give me 1 second. I'm doing a lot of Maya rolls today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Jeez.
she's able to handle herself here. I think that I have enough information for the time being. Thank you.
Very well. It was a small favor, considering the information.
If you want to tempt her, you're going to have to tempt her.
Okay. You mean like with a roll, or?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to tempt her. And I will blood surge to do it.
That is your difficulty. 2. God damn it.
Considering that this is a significant die pool. Okay. 1 dice less than I thought it was. That's still okay.
Okay.
Critical success for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay. So she feigns annoyance. Like, you can tell she's more amused than anything. And she just kind of leans in and she's like, "Oh, fine. What do you want?"
I need an audience with M.
You need to see the prince.
Mm-hmm. Quickly.
All right. Well, let's hear it, and I'll go do it.
Well, Catherine Weiss, the New York kindred, or as you know her for her real name now, has been, as I mentioned, mucking about in Prague. Apparently, she is the owner of our little nightclub beneath the art gallery, and presumably the art gallery itself, as well as the secret benefactor of the university in Rudolphinium.
She just sits there and stares for a second. It looks like you can hear the gears moving in her head. And she's like, "Excuse me," and she walks away from the bar and out of the room.
Emil just kind of turns around on the seat, pats Benny on the back, and that's how you do it.
Is that a good thing?
Yes, it's a good thing.
She just turned and walked away.
And she's going to get us an audience with the prince.
So she is going to be gone for a good 15 minutes or so. Is there anything happening before she gets back that we need to cover?
Not Not for me, at least.
Okay. How about for Benny and Prophet?
Hunger's good. I'm ready to do this.
He'll mention to Emil, Benny, and like, there are a few other of my kind here. I could ask them to tap into the thing and see what they come up with.
Is that a good idea?
That's what I'm asking you. Yeah.
Normally speaking, two heads are better than one, but I think when it comes to dealing with Malkavians,
That too is questionable. That may have an exponent next to it.
yes. I'm a little afraid to involve too many Malkavians. Yes.
No offense, Prophet.
Yeah, no offense, but
You're
Racist.
too
saying
many of
the
them.
shit out of me.
I wasn't
I'm
going to
just
put it
saying
like
we
that.
have a couple more data points, but I get it. Like, I get it.
If you feel it's important, I'm not going to stop you, but keep in mind the information that you have to tell them to get them.
Yeah, I think I'll wait on that for now. But if we get stuck, you have a little option there.
Prophet.
Oh,
How tall
Oh.
are you?
Gosh, let me look. I think he's like 5'8".
Okay, so I'm a little bit taller than you, so I'll grab you by the head and give you a nugget.
Prophet hands one of the little plastic cutlasses to you and go, "I duel you."
He'll roll with it.
Yeah, we just got a Mill sitting on the bar stool, smiling, so pleased with himself. And then you two over there having a fake sword fight.
And everybody else is like in the most dour mood possible.
Yeah, and we are the light of the room. I wasn't gonna put it like that. My larger concern was giving them the information in which they need.
Yeah, it's
and
random.
considering that none of them are native to the city, that could spark a panic amongst all of them, and I'd rather not have that happen.
Yeah, I'm not native to the city actually either, so
Neither am I.
I don't believe any of us are.
Not in this coterie.
and he's from Texas.
Amongst other places. Had a bit of a globe-trotting lifestyle as a unit.
As have I.
Dodging disaster from one place to the next.
I just go where the work takes.
You go where the word takes you?
Yeah.
Me too. Not dodging one disaster, but causing one hell of a party everywhere.
That was up until my embrace dodging disaster. Well, technically, I don't think I dodged the last one. It did kind of kill me, but there was a much worse disaster that happened after that. So
Maya walks up behind you guys. Disaster? What happened?
which one?
Emil's talking fashion.
Ooh, fashion disaster. Yeah.
The worst kind.
No, mine was a bombing at a nightclub. I missed it by a day, but I was killed the night before, so.
Oh my god. Okay. She'll look at the three of you. M, we'll see you.
Thank you, dear.
Mm-hmm.
Don't spend all that in one place.
Oh, I don't plan to.
And as we're kind of walking back into the empty part of the Elysium, just look at Benny and say, and that's taking multiple paths at one time.
This is why I keep a Toreador around.
He just winks.
Okay, so you have to get to the upstairs area, which is not hard to do, but it's a bit of a walk around. And then you go up this flight of stairs that leads over to where the big double doors are that lead to the elevator. There is a guard out front. He is very fine dressed. He's one of the few kindred in the Elysium who's just openly carrying a weapon. He has a small, compact machine gun that he's carrying as if it's just another part of his suit. He's also wearing a very fine, simple, golden mask that covers his facial features. And he puts his hand up as he sees you approach. Business?
I believe Imogen Maya just arranged us in a meeting with the prince.
You are Mr. Winters and his coterie?
Indeed.
He turns and pushes the button on the side for you, and the elevator doors open, allowing you access.
Step in.
Following.
Yep. Let me push the button up.
I'll let you push the button up.
There is a very long elevator ride ahead of you. It goes all the way to the top of this castle. When the doors open, it actually opens directly into her office itself. When you get off, it's a very finely decorated office. There is immediately to the left, when you get off of the elevator, there is a large staircase leading downwards into another room. You see her sitting at a desk in front of a floor-to-ceiling window that overlooks all of downtown Prague. I guess the only other odd thing that you could say in this place is the fact that that large coffin that's wrapped in chains is still here.
We'll just approach. Like he'll walk part of the way, and then just kind of stop and wait to be addressed.
She will motion at the three of you as you get off the elevator to come forward.
Walk up.
Yep, following him, Emil.
And I'll be behind Prophet.
She just kind of looks up at you from her desk, eyes the three of you both, eyes the three of you both. That is the worst sentence I've said today. Eyes the three of you up and down, and Maya says you had some words for me.
Yeah, whenever Emil walks up, he will kind of bow. Thank you for taking this time to see us, Prince.
What can I do for you?
Well, we had some information fall into our lap that he kind of looks around to make sure like there's not any higher echelon archons in the room.
You give me a do you have heightened senses, correct?
I do.
Give me a wits plus awareness test. Anybody who has heightened senses can do a wits plus awareness test.
Okay.
Since the unseen.
Would that be including our aspects to the die pool?
Yeah, you can do that.
Emil got 5, and Mr. Prophet got
3.
3.
They're not trying to hide or anything, so you'll both get this. It's a little bit down, like it's a little bit out of sight, and this place has enough stuff to absorb the sound that travels through it. But those you two, since you passed that test, will hear that there is some conversation happening down those stairs to the left of the elevator.
Okay. Some information has fallen into our lap, and he kind of gets steps closer to her desk, talking softly.
All right.
That could be beneficial for the Camarilla's survival.
You have my attention.
The part of the information that is beneficial to our survival is a way out of the red gas.
Oh.
He kind of waits to see what her reaction is to that.
Her eyebrow raises. That's it.
There are some tunnels beneath the city, once held by Prince Yosef. And their location has been discovered with 2 access points to exit from. One north of the city and one south.
And what would your what exactly are you suggesting that we do with this?
Well, I know there are a large number of kindred currently in this domain that are not native to this domain, and would like to return home, put this Inquisition mess behind them. There's a way out.
Where exactly did you get this information from?
The information fell into my lap through a series of actions that were taken to deal with some personal matters and some mortal contacts of mine put me on the lead, and I followed up with it. My coterie, and I followed up with them, I should say. It wasn't all just myself.
She'll look towards the other 2 of you.
I'll nod.
Thumbs up.
She's going to stand up and walk slowly over towards the window and start looking out at the city.
Prophet pulls a little breath mint out of his pocket, but he's trying to be like quiet about it, but you can hear the
You're just breaking the tension by opening candy. I love it. I love it. Anyway. Oh my god. You can tell by the way her face is reflected in the window and the slight turn when you do that she is just like actively annoyed. Just so fucking annoyed by the fact that you're doing that. But she waits until the plastic is done crinkling, and I'm sure you like stuff it in your pocket or something, which is going to end up making more noise. She waits until the sound of the crinkling plastic stops, and then goes on this holding this domain is not the easiest thing. The Inquisition literally on our doorstep, and she'll motion out the window, and if you take a look, if you get closer, I guess, to the window, you can see that there's a very large camp behind the fences with the trucks. You can see them moving around on the ground. There's a very large camp of hunters directly outside the Elysium.
With the view, Prophet is going to try to see if he can remember the places the lightning struck in his premonition, and if you see anything similar from this view.
Good question. All right. Give me an intelligence plus insight roll. Well then.
Look at that.
This is Mr. Prophet's night, I see.
Again.
So, you get the feeling that one of the 3 points that seemed to catch your attention during your premonition would definitely be in this room with you. As you're looking out the door, as you're looking out the window, however, you happen to catch 2 falling stars. And you don't know if they're really there. Nobody else seems to notice them. But the arc and trajectory that they land in, you feel is pinpointing you to where the other 2 are.
Okay, good.
If I get the feeling that like we're kind of being invited to step forward toward the window, he would move up to the window as well.
Yeah. She doesn't have any reason not to. She seems fine with it. And you can see that there is a very large group of hunters who seem to be setting up a new camp right outside the Elysium.
Yeah, that's all he says when he sees it is, "Oh shit."
Fleeing the city may be our only chance. But making the proud, stubborn residents, those who have been here long enough to hold position, actually leave, that is going to be a challenge. If I step away, Kirill will claim Praxis.
What if we have a way to distract you?
What do you think that would be?
What if there's a target so tempting that flees the city that he has to chase it?
She's going to just turn and look at you. Go on.
I'll turn to look at Henry.
What Benjamin is getting at is brings us to some of the other points of information that I felt were pivotal to tell you. My understanding is that hang on, out of character just really quick. I hate to break the tension, but
Yeah.
I want to clarify on what Benjamin said was someone so tempting that he had to chase them to get out.
Yes. To
Are
get
you
him
meaning? Are you referring to his sire?
out. I'm playing it by ear. I was like, I know we know Katharina's here, but is there anyone else that could be tempting them? Play it how you will.
So yes, what Benjamin is, I think, attempting to imply is not so much someone for him to chase, but something that could potentially chase him. In fact, it could chase everyone. I don't wish to assume your particular philosophical stances, but, well, to be frank, there's been some information, rumors, I suppose, but problematic rumors enough that I don't wish to take a chance, so he kind of gestures over to the coffin. Prague has a long and history steep with Camarilla and kindred influence. One of these particular Camarilla, or well, not Camarilla, kindred, far out dates, and he gestures to the coffin again, our former prince. Reason to believe there is a sleeping Methuselah under the city.
Is is that so?
And not particularly one that I think would have any interest in keeping the Camarilla or the Anarchs, for that matter, thriving in the city of Prague if it were to wait. So, while I do hate to be the one to bear bad news, I don't believe that the hunters are the only thing we have to fear in the city.
So would you suggest evacuating the city and allowing the hunters to just have the anarchs? That way they feel they've accomplished, they leave, and then we come back? Because that seems to be what the Archons are suggesting right now.
I'd heard there were Archons involved, but I only just recently learned that as I was speaking with Maya. No, I don't actually believe that would be the best thing to do. I believe that the best thing to do would perhaps send enough of our kindred out of the city that our influence wanes, giving the illusion that we're weakening to the hunters, while keeping enough the vital elements of the city operating, the skeleton crew, for lack of a better term, and then sneaking this information to the Anarchs so that they will flee, dwindling Anarch influence and numbers drastically all in one big motion, weakening them to the point that they have preferably no sway whatsoever or holdings in the city, and giving the hunters with the mass exodus of the Anarchs and the quiet and subtle means of Camarilla numbers thinning themselves out little by little. Perhaps the hunters will think that there is nothing left, and they won't be so zealous in their actions, and will think that they've done all that can be done. While the remaining power of the Camarilla seeks to... He kind of like looks to the ceiling like he's uncomfortable in the suggestion and kind of bites his lip like he's thinking for the right word. Perhaps try to figure out where this Methuselah lays and remove that threat as well. While I understand there's a lot of ifs in this suggestion, that would leave the Anarchs, the Inquisition, and a very unkind Methuselah no longer in our way to the Camarilla, and all of Prague would be open to full Camarilla station and control.
Well, this would definitely take a ceasefire between us and the Anarchs.
Not necessarily.
If the Camarilla and the Anarchs are to take these tunnels that are being considered for this exodus, you're going to have Camarilla and Anarch in the tunnels at the same time. They would have to be a ceasefire.
Well, the blood hunt could be revoked. That would certainly lessen their stress, although that could be counterproductive, removing the blood hunt. If anything, double down on the blood hunt, full swing, and quietly let the Anarchs subtly let them discover this information in a way that they think it's their own achievement. But only after those members of this court who wish to leave can do so. Let those who would leave Prague be on their way. Quietly, subtly. And then double down on the blood hunt. And then let the Anarchs think they find their own way out to survive. It's merely a suggestion, my friends. I don't typically participate in militant strategies, so I've never held a position in any court, but I've seen enough twofold backwards politics to at least conjure the idea.
So what type of timeline do you think you're looking at?
It needs to be stretched out enough to be subtle, but not so long that the Inquisition has time to push ahead before it can be enacted. So, and fast enough so that the Anarchs don't notice that the Camarilla is thinning out as well. So, perhaps the best suggestion I could think of would be if we were to let the Camarilla exodus happen all at once, as subtly and quietly, just overnight. And the next night, begin pushing the blood hunt. And maybe 2 to 3 nights later, let the Anarchs think they find a way out. This is, again, not a militant strategist. I'm just trying to think. It's a very complex situation that we're in, so I'm trying to find all of the best ways to deal with each of our problems.
You do, I'll chime in. You do know about the intentions of the entity to end us all, right?
Are you speaking to Emil
The
or
prince.
the prince? Ah.
She's just going to motion towards the window and say, I think that's obvious.
They've come a long way. They're looking to fill the bowl that they created, thus taking us all out at once. You wish to be a prince, correct? You cannot be a prince of dead kindred.
How long have the three of you been in Prague?
Only a couple months before the convention.
I arrived not long before the convention.
Yeah, a little bit longer, but not long. I was just reestablishing myself.
So none of you are local.
No, but if you're implying that this is personal to us to see ourselves be a part of this exodus, I had no intentions of leaving until I absolutely have to.
She kind of smiles, but also like pinches the bridge of her nose. What do you know of the political stability of Prague before Marcus?
Or Marcus. Before Marcus was Joseph, wasn't it?
She is going to laugh at that. No, not at all.
No, Joseph long gone. I know that the political stability has been shaky. I'll put it that way.
She is going to, as you're talking, she's going to walk over to her desk and get a small remote out of a desk drawer. She will let you continue speaking, though.
The specific details of who, when, and where elude me at the moment, but I know that it was shaky and getting back far enough, outright, like borderline not borderline non-existent.
She does that 80s mom video game thing where she like points the remote at at a screen as if you have to forcefully do it. And the screen comes on. And she uses the remote almost like a laser pointer, but kind of just directing a cursor on the screen. And opens up a folder, and the first thing that pops up is the portrait. It looks like an oil painting of a man wearing the most gaudy golden armor. But he looks way too young to be wearing it at the same time. This was Prince Rudolf Brandl, first Prince of Prague. He was placed here. He did not want to be here. She clicks a button and another portrait pops up. This is Prince Joseph Zvi. Prince Joseph murdered Prince Brandl and took his place. Luckily, he was a loyal supporter of the Ivory Tower when the Camarilla eventually came around. He was prince prior to this. We have a feeling that he had something to do with the prevention of a waking Methuselah in the area. A Zamitzi by the name of Shagra. Unfortunately, we have no pictures of that. However, there is suggestion that Shagra was active in New York in 1999. She is going to click the button again, and a very handsome man wearing a modern suit is going to pop up. It's slightly out of date. I would say that Emil would probably know that the suit was like the height of fashion in like the late 90s. But again, it is also an oil painting. That is Prince Vasily of Clan Toreador. He took over after World War II when Prince Joseph died during bombings of the area. And then she'll motion over to the casket. He's in this room with us right now. And then she'll hit it one more time, and another man pops up, rather brutish looking individual wearing a suit that the suit looks like a leash. He does not seem happy in it. This is Justikar Karlak, who, after beating, and she again motions to the casket, after beating Vasily to a pulp and imprisoning him inside of a wall, became prince back in 1998. There is one thing that all three of these men had in common that my sire did not. Do any of you know what that is? No?
No, ma'am.
Do any of you know what the Corcoran Valley is? I'm going to take that as a no also. She clicks the button again, and there's this like beautiful picture of a landscape. It's actually a photo this time, and it's just this gorgeous mansion in the middle of the day, in basically like almost wilderness. But actually, if anybody can do a wits plus insight roll for me.
Mill got 3, Benny got 2, and Mr. Prophet got 4.
Okay, sorry, Benny. You'll those of you who got 3 or higher will notice a castle with gray walls and an orange claywork roof, and you will recognize that as Corcoran Castle, which is located in Corcoran Valley. All of those princes were dealing with the resident of this castle. She looks almost terrified to even speak the name. A member of Clan Zamitzi by the name of Jenek Rikta. Rikta has been working with the princes back since Joseph to keep the Sabbat out of the city en masse. I do believe that if the Camarilla leaves completely from Prague, that Rikta will claim Praxis. This isn't just an issue with Kirill. The Camarilla could lose Prague completely. And where I agree you can't be prince over a host of dead kindred, we might not have this city at all under our control any longer.
Where do Richter's allegiances lie?
Richter claims to be independent.
So,
Well, ma'am, no offense, but I don't think that he points towards the camp outside, cares how any of us are aligned.
it's better to negotiate with an autarchus Zamitsi than it is to die in a cloud of brick gang. Leave the door open. Have you dealt with Richter yourself?
I have sent correspondence, but I have not received an answer.
Again, Prince, my suggestion's not that the Camarilla abandon Prague. I don't even know if who would have the authority to declare such a thing. But if enough of the foreign Camarilla were able to leave, return to their cities, quickly, quietly, we just keep the pillars of the Camarilla here with minimum numbers to maintain operation, to maintain your praxis. It could be enough to send the hunters elsewhere. Actually, you could even go a step further if you wanted, and after presenting sneaking the information into the hands of the Anarchs that there's a way out, let the Inquisition know about it. Let them put to death all of the kindred in one big motion, so that they see it before their very eyes, that they have purged the city of Satan's spawn, or whatever it is they spout.
Are you suggesting leading the Anarchs into a death trap?
I'm suggesting that you let them leave and hope that the hunters are satisfied with their bloodlust. But another course of action would be to let them sate their bloodlust actively.
So how do we leak this information to the Anarchs then?
I don't particularly have don't have a particularly good standing with the Anarchs, so I don't suggest that I be the one responsible.
Neither do any of us.
That's why we're here.
But there are many. Maya has many agents, as does Omnis and Kirill.
We could catch and release.
Catch and release could be actually. That's not a terrible idea if we were to catch someone who is outwardly loyal to the Anarch cause. Put them somewhere to be quote-unquote interrogated, and just happen to have a file of information pertaining to these tunnels, as well as other light information that doesn't actually impact it with them knowing it. Leave the Anarch means to get themselves out and escape with the information. That could work,
But would they escape?
Maybe. Well, we would have to let them.
With the information, would they escape? Would they choose to escape?
We'd have to let them know the stakes as well. Subtle.
You mean You mean the catch and release victim, or
No, the rest of the anarchists in
the?
general.
I mean, you leak. What do we know about Anarch hotspots? I mean, if you were really going to make this work, we would need to know where they frequent and how to apply pressure in the most expedient and lethal way to make them feel like they have no out other than to leave.
Oh, we tell them of what's coming. That could be included in the information too. And if you want
The
to,
hunters backing us into a corner and detonating a massive bomb of red gas,
we
or
don't say
just a bomb in general.
who's initiating the bomb to clear out all the kindred, but we also leak that we are fleeing, or we are exiting the city to prepare.
With the small the sizable exodus of Camarilla members, they do happening preferably quick and quiet. That information could also be leaked to the Anarchs. Leaked to them. The Camarillas found a way out. The Camarillas leaving. Let them find it themselves, I suppose.
We can
But
make
if
it
they know
appear to
that we're
them that they know that we are leaving, and we know that an attack is incoming that is so massive that it will wipe out all the kindred within the Red Gangs.
My
Make
concern
them
on
feel,
that would be that they would choose to stay if we were leaving.
make them feel like it's New York all over again.
well, there are two ways we can look at this. There are two ways it can go. You feed them the information, let them think it's their idea, and then using the Inquisition to our disposal, I'll let the Inquisition start applying severe pressure to them and offer them no safe haven with the Blood Hunt, so they have no choice but to leave. That would be one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, and that way would include them not knowing the Camarilla is thinning out, or the other way we could go about it is let them know the Camarilla is thinning out. Let them find the way in which it's happening on their own, and leave it up to chance on whether or not they think they can endure the Inquisition, or think that that it's just like the Camarilla to leave and let everyone else die, and then them also try to escape through the tunnels themselves. But again, that's even if they knew that there was a massive incoming attack. I don't know enough of the Anarchs to know how they would think about this, so I couldn't necessarily say how they would react.
As the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water.
But you can't make them drink.
But you can make them thirsty.
Precisely.
We just need to ride those horses long enough so that way they are forced to drink it.
Okay. Real quick, out of character. This is going to take some convincing. So, what method do you want to use to try to convince her of this?
Like, die roll wise?
Yes.
Yeah, probably like what skill are you using to plan on her?
Are you trying to manipulate or be charismatic about it? Would be a good
No,
way of putting it.
he's trying to reason with her, so he's just trying to use his, he's trying to be charismatic and
Okay.
so even though it's false deference, he's just trying to feed her enough information that maybe she fills in the gaps of the house and win. But I would say he's being charismatic, not manipulative. He's not trying to bend her arm because he doesn't really care if she gives the order to evacuate or not.
Okay.
Because again, I don't think he thinks I don't think a full exodus is a good idea either. But
So, do you think this would be a charisma plus persuasion kind of thing?
Charisma, persuasion, or even a charisma leadership, either or even a charisma politics. We're talking about a lot of like political staging going on here.
Okay. Well, I'm rolling her defense pool at this point in time. So I would like you to decide exactly how you want to do this. You can add 1 die for each of your cohorts who are with you.
Okay.
Yay.
Or if you think one of them should roll it, I don't know.
Nope.
You three need to figure that out. But here is your defense, or there's her defense pool.
Ooh. 7. Ooh. Okay. So he's not trying to manipulate her. So he's using charisma. And he is talking about this with a lot of like political backstabbing tactics going on here. So I'm going to use charisma plus politics.
Okay, you can definitely use your bureaucracy on top of that.
I was about to say. And he would even blood surge because this is kind of important.
Agreed.
And I don't get hungrier.
That's good.
Well, you got a willpower.
Oh, I have to.
Oh, Lord.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm at 6. I got 6. Oh.
He's got 7, but if you willpower and get 1.
Come on, Avray. I know you're Cthulhu in technical form. Just don't scream it this time.
RN Jesus.
Yay.
Oh, hell. Let's go.
Hit him with the 9.
And a messy crit.
She...
What? Oh, shit. It is a messy crit.
We are the messiest of bitches.
That is a messy crit.
It's such a good plan. You can stage it right. But the Camarilla needs to be operating as a cohesive unit to pull it off.
This is literally like the retaking of New York levels.
Oh yeah, no, it's really big, and it's all happening. It's all happening between 4 people in one room.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said, "I'm not very militant or a strategist, but also let me hand you down a full-on city siege strategy."
Yeah.
Here's our dossier on that.
Yeah, here's our dossier on everything we know. Also, I know stuff that I shouldn't, but here it is.
Let's do this.
I'm just dancing the finest line that I can.
Okay. So, allow me to paint this picture for you. As you are laying down your argument, this incredibly well thought method of probably saving the most lives and letting the Camarilla have the upper hand, you walk over to her while she's standing again staring out the window, because it seems to be bringing her some form of comfort, but also grounding her with the idea that the SI literally have a camp in their backyard. And as you're explaining it to her, and she seems to be very, very receptive over everything that you're saying, the Toreador in you obviously winning through this. Did you add your awe to this?
I did not. Should I have?
You could have. It doesn't matter. You won. But you definitely were, yeah, you could have added your presence to that. Are you doing it anyway?
Yeah. That's a double crit.
Holy shit. Okay.
Holy
As-
shit, that's a lot of successes.
Yeah, as you're looking down at what she's looking down, you see them unpacking. You see the camp being set up around the massive fountain that is downstairs in the town square. And you can see that the person who's directing where everything is going is this figure out of time, where he or they, you really can't tell, seems to be wearing armor very similar to the SI, and your heightened senses are just like targeting in on this individual. They seem more full plate armor than anything else. Like, it looks like a medieval set of armor mixed with the SWAT gear that the entity is wearing. And the thing that this person is holding to direct their authority is this massive, ornate, highly decorative bastard sword that seems to be giving off this authoritative glow. And you want it. And the Toreador compulsion of obsession takes over you. You want that sword to show that you are the one who did all this. So that is your messy crit. Is Toreador obsession.
I will. So Emil finishes, his plea for sanity and his counsel on political strategy by saying, and if you happen to do it, you would be known as being the prince who saved Prague from being like Vienna and London. And there would be no one left but us, but the Camarilla. And then his eyes kind of just focus out the window. And he just
As he
only hears
finishes-
staring out the window.
I start clapping involuntarily.
Yeah, with that many successes, kind of.
I think if I counted it correctly, it totaled out to like 13.
Yeah.
You don't even notice, but she's actually just staring at you. Mr. Prophet and Benny will notice that she's staring at you with a slight amount of admiration, not even realizing that you're just hyper-focused on something that's, like, well beyond her sight.
Yeah, he's got like just a faint little like happy smile that it's also kind of a greedy smile as he's looking out the window.
Yeah, and she's looking at you, and the thing that's really rushing through her mind is, wow, look at how dedicated he is to this cause. And at that point, you are going to be shaken out of your revelry when you hear someone else speak who's in the room, standing towards the staircase, or standing in front of the staircase. There's 3 men who are dressed in kind of, what is the best way of putting this? It is enhanced leather gear. They are wearing leather jackets. They almost look like a very strange motorcycle gang when you look over at them. Some of them bearing some pretty nasty scars on their faces, but the shoulders have these over exaggerated strapped on leather additives. Emil is definitely going to recognize these 3 men as wearing some, like, improvised armor for Archons. So there's 3 Archons standing in the room towards those stairs who go, "We have a plan then?"
Emil kind of snaps to at the sound of their voice. I would think so.
It sounds like it.
He just kind of looks to M as to give the word.
She looks towards them, gathering herself, putting on the most authoritative stance she can, and says, "We have a plan." And post. I'm stopping game right there.